Welcome to my podcast, Rashad in Conversation. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Mira Thoumy. Mira is an associate professor of management at the Lebanese American University. She holds a Ph.D. in operations management from HEC Montreal, a master's of engineering in project management, and a bachelor's in industrial engineering from Ecole Polytechnique of Montreal. She has more than 10 years of academic experience where she taught courses in strategy, operations, and project management in top local and international universities. She also has over 15 years of consulting experience in various sectors, including manufacturing, healthcare, public administration, and NGOs. Mira volunteers as the VP of Governance at the PMI Lebanon chapter, Project Management Institute. She is a certified project management professional, a project management office certified practitioner, and a certified Six Sigma Masters black belt. Mira, an absolute pleasure having you on my show today. Great experiences and amazing sectors. Welcome.
Uh, Thank you so much. I'm humbled to be on your podcast, and I hope we can bring together some inspiration to potential leaders in quality.
Fantastic. I'm sure you will. This is a great experience and background you have, but of course, I won't do it enough justice. So, why don't you share, in your own words, your experience? Where did it all begin, and how did you get to where you are today?
Sure. So if I want to talk about my career journey, I think it's a never-ending puzzle. So every experience from the engineering to consulting to research, volunteering, all of it is just a piece that helped me see the big picture more clearly. And the beauty of it is that the puzzle never ends. So I'm still learning. I'm constantly deconstructing and reconstructing myself as everyone does nowadays. So I started as an industrial engineer, as you said, trying to understand systems, flows, processes, and that curiosity led me a lot into lean projects, and then in consulting, and then in service organization, and later to research. And my PhD actually explored the balance between performance and quality. I always imagined that this is a paradox where quality is about just excellence and performance is just about numbers. And I wanted with that PhD to bridge that gap and see how organizations can both be fast and excellent at the same time. And now, as an associate professor at LAU and VP governance at PMI, I see my role as connecting all those dots, the words of industry, academia, volunteering, to show how actually quality and governance are not about control, but they're about creating those environments where people can actually strive. So through all of this, I learned that career is not only about knowledge, it's about humility, it's about continuous learning. So every new role, every certification, every collaboration has always reminded me that growth starts when you admit how much more there is still to learn.
And the beauty of all of this is that you were able to gain knowledge and, of course, share it as well in different sectors. So, how did you find, was there something in common you were able to apply across all of those sectors?
Actually, it's about finding the potential in people and how can they bring this into application and how the knowledge of each one of us, but our previous experiences can culminate into something more powerful than just what each one of us knows separately. So I think that's very important. And I always find it in every connection, every new meeting, every person that comes across or podcast that I listen to, I find the beauty of that.
Fantastic. So, with all of this experience and cross sectors, Mira, what's one success story you think other professionals can benefit from?
Actually, it started with something dramatic. You know, last year in Lebanon, we lived war. Actually, in Lebanon for the past maybe for as long as I can remember, we lived a lot of crises. And the most recent one was war in last November. And accordingly, we all felt helpless and we wanted to support. But I felt at the time, and I brought that to the board of Lebanon chapter, how can I support? My core knowledge, my core expertise is not in relief efforts. It's in project management and in teaching and in training and in consulting. So one of the initiatives that I brought to the board was on training NGOs on how to give those relief efforts in the most efficient way and by using project management. So at the time, we were not moving a lot under the bumps, actually. So we formed a small group of volunteers and we started developing small capsules, very short, because people working in those NGOs were extremely busy doing the work on the field. So we thought maybe we can just record 5 minutes capsules, and you were on few of them. You have done that. So thank you for volunteering with us. And I think this was extremely powerful, impactful, because each NGO is living a different challenge, and just giving them small pieces of what could help them become more efficient was very important. And what's even more impactful is phase two that we just rolled, which is a one-on-one kind of personalized help for specific NGOs, where we try to understand what is their exact challenge, what can we help in a more concrete way. So now we're in phase two. We've supported one NGO fully so far. We're preparing to support two more. And for all those efforts, PMI recognized me and the board also with a Leadership Impact Award that I just got recently. And this is not a reward that I feel, or an award that I feel that's just for me. It's supporting this cause. I'm just a small piece of having more impact in the communities we live in. So I feel that each one of us, on top of our duties at work, with our families, we have that extra thing that we owe for our community and the country where we live in. So I'm glad we did that. And I hope that this brings more inspiration to people working in NGOs, but people volunteering in general. It's a reminder that it's about knowledge sharing and staying humble to still learn, even when we're serving, and improving has become a shared human story, I think.
Well, first of all, congratulations on your Impact Leadership Award. This is definitely well deserved. I'm really fascinated because you started by saying this whole success story started from a dramatic situation, a crisis that everybody lived in Lebanon at the time of the war. What, in your opinion, is the secret recipe for this initiative to have been a success with all of the volunteers?
See, everything starts with a seed. So maybe I just get this part of credit of it, just the seed of how can we help. But then the volunteers and the power of volunteering, this is something that I'm witnessing every single day, and how bringing volunteers for a common cause, a common thing that they believe in, this is extremely powerful. And I've also lived it in my corporate experience when you bring people together around just a common mission, a common thing to at least look out to or look in the same direction. This is what makes all the difference, I think.
It is. And I also like how you mentioned that you start with a seed, you start with an idea, and when you feel you want to help, that seed then grows and everybody gets involved, focused on a shared mission, on a common goal. And hats off to you, Mira, for this initiative, and a shout out to all of the volunteers who helped. This is definitely brilliant. I'm gonna flip the coin right now. So we talked about a success story. People are who matter, a shared common belief and a cause to work on. But things aren't always easy and smooth. We all experience bumps along the way. Is there any lesson that you've learned, a bump or a crisis that you've worked with, that you've deployed something that helped it make it a success, or if you've applied what you knew today about that issue back in the past, you would have done it differently?
So it's making me smile because actually this brings me so back in time to my early career in consulting. So I started with a local Montreal company called Matrox. They used to do PCBs that were extremely innovative at the time. But this is back in 2008. And during that time, my work, I was hired as a lean project coordinator. And the way I did it is every week we would do an improvement in one unit. And then the following week we would do it in another unit. And this was all based on actually all lean thinking, which is continuous improvement. So you don't just make a huge project, you just make small continuous improvement all the time. And in between parentheses, one of the things that inspired me at the time to use that is when a lot of Americans at the time were visiting Japan just to see what's the secret of Toyota and how are they that successful. And the thing that blew their minds, I think, is the fact that you can actually walk through the plant, see it all from up above, and they were not hiding anything. And when they challenged the CEO at the time on how do you share everything, and are you not afraid of being copied? And what he said was extremely powerful and stayed with me, which is that by the time they go back and copy what we're doing, we'll be so far ahead because it's only small continuous improvement. So back to my story, I used to do that at Matrox. And at some point, competition became extremely huge, and China was winning because of the costs and the extremely competitive prices they were offering. And our team was approached with a huge challenge, which is if we do not cut 30% of our cost within 3 months, we're moving everything to China. And at the time, we really worked day and night, but with every single person, with the operator on those lines to high management. And we were in survival mode. So we rallied everyone on one shared common vision. But if there is one lesson from this whole thing, is that I always thought about the frameworks, the tools. What can I use? How can I improve the methodology? And I maybe was not paying close attention to what was actually driving it. And now looking back to it, I think it was not at all about all that. Although SMED and just in time and all of that are extremely powerful, it's all about having people rally around one common goal. And this brings me back to it's about the success, but also about what I learned. I learned it the hard way. I learned that if you don't have the buy-in of people, nothing would materialize. And actually, we saved the day at the time. I don't know where Matrix is today, honestly, but it was a success. But I think if I have to redo it, I'll just think about how to communicate it better, how to manage the change, how to maybe not wait for the crisis to happen, try to see what are the early signs, what can we do to let everyone think about what might happen if we continue just doing things the way we used to, and not challenging all the time that we need to do better and how can you stay more competitive in that work.
I really like that you brought it back to actually there is a fine line between focusing on tools and techniques and so what's in your toolbox and the frameworks that you work with, and really starting with the why. Why are we doing this? What's the ultimate goal? What's the ultimate objective? And making sure people understand it and buy into it, because once they do, then the change program becomes a lot easier. So no matter how good your toolbox is, if people don't buy into that end game.
100%. So just nurturing that trust, listening more than showing off what you know. Coming as a fresh grad, you have a huge toolbox and toolkit, and you want to use it all. But in real life, yes, you need it just for the thinking of it. It's a lot more about inviting people to help you, help them. So it comes down to that, I think.
Remarkable. There's a lot of going on in my mind, because this is really powerful. It's not only about the toolkit or the toolbox that you have, it's about listening to people on how, and allowing them to help you help them. I'm going to go off script because I'm really interested in this. I have one more question, if I may, Mira. You have your academic background is all in engineering and systems thinking, and that has been deployed through project management, quality management, continuous improvement. And I know you focus a lot on people now. You understand that you need to bring them along. Um, if you are to look back and reflect onto the engineering world, sort of what is one key skill or takeaway that you still hold very dear from the engineering mindset that you deploy today?
So I think that the shift from engineering to management came between my master's and PhD. My PhD was all about management because while I was doing all that consulting, I started sensing that it's not about the toolkit, as I said. So it's about people and how do you manage people to get the best out of them and also to grow their potential to the maximum. But I definitely feel that the systematic thinking of engineering is something that drives me up until today. So when I try to help, I try to do it in a very systematic way, not to miss any steps.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I do it in a completely different way, in a more natural, organic. It comes more naturally today because I know that it's all about people. And also, this brings me to certifications and the importance of certifications. When I started the certification pathway, I was just about to finish my PhD, and it was for me a technical validation. But I think that today it's more about curiosity,
Mm.
making sure that you're still curious, that you're still humble, that you still have that humility just to feel that you don't know it all. And there's no point in time where you know it all. So having a systematic way of thinking is definitely key. And having the people mindset brings it all, like it closes the whole puzzle, I think, and you would see the full picture. So as I started my conversation, you have all of those pieces of puzzle that are building up, but there's no full picture at the end.
Mm.
It's just a
It's still going.
continuous, endless thing that you can keep on learning, keep on improving, staying humble, staying curious throughout.
Fantastic. That's why, for both professional bodies, the Chartered Quality Institute in their framework and their profession map, they always put leadership in the center and the context of the operation, the overarching umbrella that hugs all of the technicalities of how you work. And with Project Management Institute, with their triangle, they talk about technical skills, they talk about business acumen, but then they talk about the way of working, which you bring in people on board. And both those professional bodies acknowledge the importance of those skills, which PMI refers to as power skills, because without them, without bringing people, change, getting the buy-in, it becomes a very strong uphill battle.
Okay, I totally agree.
Mira, with your background, experience, and you're also a busy person, how does a person like you keep yourself up to date, getting your knowledge on track? Any books, podcasts, or journals you would recommend?
Actually, I do a lot of, I'm on an app called Blinkist. I like micro learnings. So instead of reading a whole book, I like to have the takeaways. So that keeps me up to date. With also the PDUs of PMI, I think this is a powerful thing just to keep on learning all the time, get to know people, know from their experience. So that's also important. But going back to the series of book, actually a book that I really read from A to Z, a series of books is by author Jim Collins. I really love him because what he did, and from my research background, he did something extremely powerful research-wise. He started with a book called Good to Great. This was written back in 2001. And he tried to compare companies in the same industry head to head, trying to think, why is this company just good and this other company is great? Great. He took a lot of financial measures to consider them great. And his conclusion actually resonated a lot with me, which is that it's all about the type of leadership you have and the rare combination of humility and goodwill. this is the top of his pyramid. He made a pyramid of 5 levels, and the top is exactly that. So he wrote that book, and what happens after that, a few years after that, 2008 financial crisis hit, and some of those companies labeled as great actually went bankrupt. So he had to defend himself, kind of. So he wrote another powerful book called How the Mighty Fall. And in it, he actually thinks that decline is about the mindset. It's about when you are so successful, it beats your arrogance, and the arrogance blinds you, and you
Mm.
start taking risks that are not calculated. And an even more powerful book that came out 2 years after that, so 2011, is called Great by Choice. I think this is his masterpiece, but you really need to read the three of them in that
Mhm.
sequence to get the feeling of it. And it's about how can you stay so disciplined, but at the same time so creative. And this is feeding through the research that I'm doing now on how can you still standardize but leave room to be dynamically capable of changing. So I love that series of books because it's about the journey of organizations and how even if at some point you are at the top, you won't stay that for long if you don't continue checking your environment, checking what's happening, consult with your people internally. Don't think about strategy as something that is just top down, but having it bottom up, involving everyone, having their buy-in. So I think this brings the whole circle together. I know it's an old series of books, but they're extremely relevant today, I feel, for all organizations.
Thank you so much for sharing this, Mira. We spoke a lot about you as a professional, and I would like to give our listeners a little bit of window into you as a human, as a person. So I'm going to ask you quick fire questions. Without thinking, just give me the answer that comes straight to
Okay,
mind.
sure.
Coffee or tea?
Tea, definitely.
Any particular blend?
Chai, I like the spicy one.
It's interesting. You're dialing in from Lebanon now, right? That's where you're
Yes,
based. But it's
I
interesting that
am.
tea takes the priority and not coffee.
Actually, I tried coffee when I was at university, but I really didn't like it. So when I had all those projects, I had to eat a lot of chocolate just to have the caffeine level up. So coffee was never my thing.
Caffeine and sugar. Very good. Very
Yes,
good. A train ride or a flight?
a flight, more efficient and goes with my character, I think more.
Uh, do you have any travels planned in the future, near future or distant future?
Actually, one on my to-do list, maybe for much later when my kids grow up a bit, is Japan. I'm fascinated by the culture, and I think you've sensed it from my Toyota analogy earlier in our discussion. I love that country, and I think the culture is all about mindfulness of others, and this is something that we can all learn from.
Funny you say that. I came back from a sorry, my video dropped. I came back from a holiday, 2 weeks holiday in Japan,
How was it?
and
Please tell me more.
it
I'll
was
interview you now.
it was absolutely amazing. It was absolutely brilliant Um, in every single way. As you said, the culture, the approach to life, the approachability, the friendliness, the structure, the orderly. Then not to mention about the history, the religious sites, the food. I mean, I could keep on
Yeah.
talking in so many ways. It was an absolutely brilliant trip. I can't wait to plan my next one.
So now I have to schedule that earlier than expected then.
I would highly recommend it. I
Oh,
would highly recommend it. Um, Finally, cinema or theater?
mm, definitely theater. It's about the creativity. I'm actually someone extremely structured. I try to bring in creativity in others. I'm not that creative, so I think that I enjoy the art of putting yourself out there and trying to convey a feeling, an emotion, and this is absolutely brilliant in the human nature. So I appreciate it a lot.
Fantastic. And hopefully you get to come and visit us in London, and then I'll make sure we'll explore some very good theatre shows as well
I hope
on the
so.
West End. Mira, thank you so much for joining this conversation, for sharing all of your insights and your career successes. You have been listening to Rashad in Conversation with me, your host, Rashad Isa. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit subscribe, follow, or download as I bring you monthly guests from around the world to share their stories of the quality profession.
Thank you, Rashad.